What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Server Error 405, and we're finally here. Look, it's a podcast. It's taken so much time to do this, but I'm so blessed. And my first guest is none other than a man who's been on MTV, Comedy Central, World of Professional Wrestling, Air Sex Innovator, Champion. I mean, there's so many things. It would take the whole episode to even list it off. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. TREW himself, ladies and gentlemen, Chris TREW.
What's going on? Thank you so much for having me, 405. I am multi-hyphenated, I know, but I'm hoping to zoom in on a couple things at a time as I make my debut on your debut episode. It's a double debut. We're double dipping here, my dude.
We're
Thank you for
definitely
having
double
me.
dipping. You're popping my cherry because this is my first ever podcast back again after over 10 years being away from the game. Also, my first Zoom podcast. So hopefully I don't stop recording in the middle of this shit because that's going to suck because I'm not going to run this shit back. So whatever we get, we get. So it's either going to be the shortest podcast ever or just a regular podcast that people are going to love and enjoy.
Look, so far, so good. So far, so good.
So far, we're about a minute in. So far, so good. And the great thing about you that I love, and I know you've always gambled, but you have this fantastic show that I had the pleasure to be on a couple times called Good Morning to Gamble. Fantastic show. I highly recommend it. But I love that you're more of a winner in gambling than a loser. You have that, you could brag a little bit to people because you know what you're talking about. So if you lose, then you're pretty much getting fucked. So when did you really first find that love for gambling? And how often do you go to the meetings?
I haven't been to a single meeting yet, and I'm gonna keep it that way. And but it's a good question to ask. You should check in with your friends, so I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I got into gambling. Look, when I turned 21, my parents brought me to a riverboat casino in Baton Rouge because I was a student at LSU at the time, and they encouraged me to get it all out of my system to they were like, put all this money on the craps table, put all this money on roulette. And their lesson during that was like, you see how quickly it can go. Hopefully you got out of your system. It was kind of like a tongue in cheek / let's have a party night kind of thing.
Right.
But they were trying to teach me the lesson. They were trying to be like, so don't get wrapped up in this world. And boy, did they know what they were talking about, because many years later, here I am wrapped up in the world of gambling. But as you said, it's sports gambling for me. I'll dabble at the tables, but to me, it's all about sports gambling. Big sports fan, big fan of things that have high stakes and meaning. And the quickest way to have something, to raise the stakes on something, is for there to be money on the line. So I love the world of, I love data and numbers. I love trends and gut feelings. I love sports. I love money. All these things together equals I should have a sports gambling podcast.
What's the most successful bet you've ever made?
Okay, well, I want to tell you this is really brings it really rips my heart to shreds. But I want to say I was in Las Vegas for the first ever Vegas Golden Knights game. Been on the Golden Knights train since before they had a name. I've always wanted the hockey team, and so I adopted them before ground even broke on T-Mobile Arena, right? I was part of the process. I was in Vegas for the opening game, an inaugural season ticket holder, and I'm at the casino, and I'm thinking, well, of course, you gotta place a bet on them to win the Stanley Cup. And because screw it, like, why not? Even though that was completely absurd at the time, I didn't do it. And, but I thought like that day, it was all I was thinking about. It was like, I want to get that picture of the futures ticket for Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup. I thought it would be a funny collector's item. I bet on them to win that game, but I didn't bet on them to win the cup. And so this is not the right answer. I'm not answering the right question right now. I'm answering like, which one do I regret the most? But to me, even wanting to do that and being like this close to doing it is a nominee for one of my best bets of all time, for sure.
And I know where you're going with it because they were very, very close to winning the whole thing. So that would have been the biggest heartbreak bet that you didn't make of all time.
Yeah, but I would have sold it. I would have sold it in the when they made the final round. I would not have like I think I would have hedged in a really big way because you can. I haven't done this yet, but you can sell a ticket
Mhm.
to for like less than what you would win if they won, but you can
Right.
sell it off. I would have sold it off because
Yeah.
it would have been tens of thousands of dollars. I would have sold it off in a heartbeat.
Now, who are you liking this weekend?
This weekend, I think it's going to go relatively chalk. I think I think Green Bay and Kansas City are going to win. I think it's the most, I think every possible combination is pretty interesting.
Mm.
But I mean, the craziest, most interesting scenario is Buffalo and Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah.
But I do have a Kansas City futures bet. I did put a little something, a significant something on them to win the Super Bowl. So I definitely am a Kansas City fan, I but I also wouldn't be mad if Buffalo won because that just seems like a fun story. But that's where I'm at right now. I'm my New Orleans Saints are gone pecan. They got thrown over the top rope in devastating fashion last weekend. So I do not
Right.
have I have a dog in the race, but the dog is a money shaped dog, not a dog with my heart inside of it.
Right. Now, with Mahomes potentially being out, I mean, that really changes the whole outlook for the AFC Championship, don't you think?
It sure diddly damn does. So well, I don't know what charity Patrick Mahomes is a part of, but that charity might be getting an injection of cash from the Bills Mafia come Sunday night around 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what happens. But really, if I had to even just scrap it all, scrap my futures bet, the Super Bowl that I would be most excited about, and that I would bet on. I'm sorry, two different ones. One I'd be most excited about is Buffalo, Tampa, but I'm betting on the opposite on Kansas
Yeah,
City, Green
because
Bay.
they're clearly the two best teams. I mean, Kansas City and Green Bay. I mean, a lot of people would that's pretty much everyone's pick. That's the favorites, the best teams. So that's the money Super Bowl for the networks. But I posted this the other day on social media. I have a weird feeling about Buffalo. I mean, they're a really solid team. Josh Allen is a future star in the making. I think this is kind of like people are going to look back 5 years from now and just say, well, this is where it started for Josh Allen. And I really believe that. So, I mean, then you got on the other side of it, you got Tom Brady, who's Tom Brady. And it wouldn't really surprise anyone if they really did beat the Packers. And then Mahomes may or may not play this Sunday because of concussion protocol. So you could potentially have that Tampa Bay Buffalo, but they're still two good teams too. And I would love to see Buffalo win it. I mean, they haven't won. I would love to see them do it. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Buffalo hands down is the sweet boy prediction there. It's like if you have a soul, as long as you don't live in Wisconsin, Tampa Bay, St.
Right,
Petersburg,
exactly.
Kansas City, Missouri area, you then you're probably rooting for the Buffalo Bills in some way. Even if you're a division rival, I feel like you're
Yeah,
still kind of like, it'd be cool if Buffalo won. But here's the
yeah,
thing, man. The On the AFC side, this might be the AFC championship game for the next 7, 8 years. On the NFC side,
yeah,
it has this feeling of like, even though Tom Brady hasn't done it in the NFC, it has this feeling of we have been here before. But so it kind of has an old versus new vibe to it, but one's winning the old bracket and
mhm,
one's winning the new bracket. So no
yeah,
matter what happens, you have an old versus new in
yeah.
the Super Bowl, which is cool.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And I have been called a sweet boy before, so that pick shouldn't surprise you. So speaking of thinking off your head and great segues, you're doing some improv classes that is something that a lot of people won't do. Somebody in your position, you've been around the game for quite some time, and someone that for people who don't know, I've known Chris for well over 10 years, and we've done some podcasts together and worked together here and there. And he's somebody that I actually admire and look up to in comedy, just his hustle. We'll talk a little bit about the hustle and entrepreneurship side of it, but what he's doing right now is he's offering some improv classes for the month of February. And, you know, first of all, why do it? Because you mentioned earlier you love money. So why do it? And number two, how can people benefit from taking part in that?
Cool. So you mean why do it for free, right? Because I love money. Yeah.
Exactly. Why do it for free?
So, okay, I got involved with improv comedy because I wanted to be on a hidden camera show. Like a long time ago, I was obsessed with hidden camera shows. And I was working in the movie industry, and someone on set was like, "Oh, you should take an improv class because all those people on those hidden camera shows are all improv comedians." So I said, "Okay, cool. Step one, take an improv class." So I did that thinking it was going to be like part of the journey, part of the process. What I didn't realize was how much it would completely change my life, the way I communicate with people, the way I listen to people, my work ethic. It made me funnier and more interesting. And it just really simplified everything in life that I care about, not only comedically, but also how I want to live as a person and how I want to treat people. So over the years, I continue to pursue comedy in a more formal, performing aspect, and I've had some success in that world. But something that's never left is my love for improv as an educational tool. And so I started teaching improv in 2006, and I've done well over 10,000. I put my 10,000 hours in on teaching improv. I've done it in dive bars, shitty little theaters, big grand theaters, comedy festivals, business conventions, Zoom calls. And I figured out a way to simplify it for people who maybe are interested in self-improvement, but are too nervous to take a comedy class. So I'm
Mm,
really trying to take the comedy teeth out of improv and just focus on the communication and playful side of it. The funny stuff is going to come naturally and organically. That's what's cool about improv. If you go into an improv class and you're trying to be funny constantly, it's not going to work. You're going to have a bad time and it's not going to be fun. But if you go into it with an open heart and open mind, you will learn so much about yourself and how to treat people. So, what I'm doing next month is I'm giving away 200 improv classes to people who are on the fence about giving it a shot, or people who read an article. It's like, oh, you should take an improv class because it makes you a better listener, it makes you more empathetic. I'm trying to reach all those people and be like, just give me 1 hour of your time in February. I'm gonna give you this really great improv class. And if you want to keep learning from me, I'm going to explain how you can continue to work with me, but I'm giving away 200 of them kind of as like a promotional stunt, like
right.
'cause it's a big number. And I like stunts like that, but I really believe in it too. I really believe in it as an art form that can change a lot of people. And so I just want to affect as many people as possible. And I'm excited. And last thing about this for now, until your next question, but I am absolutely relieved that it works on Zoom. Trust me, when all this stuff went down last year, I was like, a really big part of my life is gonna be on mute. It's getting tossed away for who knows how long. And it
Right.
took me a while to come around to doing it virtually. But I did it in May last year, and I was like, holy shit, what a relief. It still
Mm,
works. And in some ways, it's better for some introverts. It's actually a better format for them because they don't have to like be on their feet and be, quote unquote acting. They get to just
right.
be behind their computer and listen and learn and interact. And I'm excited, man. I'm hyped. I'm really hyped about it.
They have, I mean, a lot of people, it's their comfort zone. You know what I mean? So it's like some people can't stand in front of a bunch of people, and it's that fear, initial fear. I think everybody genuinely wants to do something like that, especially if it's new. Same reason people want to take, classes to learn how to do pottery and things like that. So, people want to be able to do these things, but it's the fear of getting called out, just like any job. If you're working like a sales job, they'll introduce yourself to everybody. Some people don't want to do that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like now, because of this pandemic, it's helping more people in a weird way. It's a horrible thing that's happening, but it's helping people to, explore things that they wouldn't necessarily do. And you're an easygoing, great teacher, anyways. So you make it so easy for people to talk to. And that's a great thing. So how can people, get on board and take advantage of those, the 200?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for the compliments, by the way. I appreciate it. Something I worked really hard at. So I love that you said that. Thank you. Well, the link. So I'm using a new email client for it as opposed to like a straight web page. So maybe we can put the link in your show notes
Yeah.
for this episode. And it's also on my Instagram. You go to my link in bio. My Instagram name is my name, Chris True, and it's so the hook is that you sign up for my newsletter, and then it gives you a calendar with options to pick from for the free improv February. And you can share it with whoever you want. If someone's listening to this right now and you're like, I'm in, but I want my friend to do it with me, cool. Send them the same link and have you both sign up. And if you eventually want to do a private custom class, we can do that too. There's someone I'm working with right now who it's one-on-one. This dude, I do an improv class with this guy one-on-one, just me and him. And at first I thought, is this going to work? This is weird.
Right.
And it's remarkable how much it works. It's so much fun. So whatever the configuration is, if it's you and one friend, it's you and your college buddies, it's your company, it's you and your boyfriend, girlfriend, like any combination totally works. It's just a matter of your mindset and getting involved and doing something nice for yourself.
Absolutely. Treat yourself. And all
Treat
the links,
yourself.
treat yourself, all the links. I'm a heavy promoter. I like to promote, I like to support. So all the links, everything that we're talking about, everything about Chris, everything that he's doing, I'm going to have it all over social media, all over, this podcast, all over YouTube, everything. One thing one of my favorite things, and I've known you for a while, one of my favorite characters that you've done, and I've tried to find it, I can't find it anymore, and I'm hoping you bring him back. Uncle Terry was just such a great character. I know that he died, but is there a chance at all that maybe there's a twin that he never talked about, or a long lost relative in the family that eerily looks the same? Is there any chance, or is Uncle Terry just dead and buried?
So yeah, Uncle Terry was an old YouTube clip from a long time ago. Not a clip. It was a sketch. It was a written, organized sketch, and he was a bad guy. He had a good heart, but he just every time every time his nephew told him about a date he went on, all Uncle Terry wanted to know was, you know, what the hookup was like, and Uncle Terry was inappropriate. He was over the top and he passed away. All this happened on one YouTube video. It was gut wrenching. It was sad. And it was one of the more popular YouTube videos I ever made.
It really was. It was hilarious. And see that led into just like a lot of other sketches and things that you've done through the years. And I'm a big fan of, and I purchased some of your rap albums, and Half Man Half Beard was great. Every now and then every now and then, you just randomly think of shit or have a song in your head. I'll have Backpack in my head, so there's like random little things, but um, Uncle Terry be dead and buried, and God rest his soul. But what about the rap career? And I know you did something for Thanksgiving, which was cool, but a full on Terp rap album. Is there a chance of that this year?
This year, there is not a chance for that. And I can tell you there's not a chance only because I am on some essentialism shit right now. I'm like narrow focus, just try not to do too many side projects right now. It's hard for me to say that, but that's my truth. But boy, that was a ton of fun, man. Like for those who listening who don't know, big fan of rap music. Grew up on Tupac, and being a New Orleans boy, I grew up heavily on No Limit and Cash Money, and just really into the culture in a really big way. I wanted to be a rapper, and and then in 2005, 2006, a lot of shit changed in my life. And I was on some like, let's start crossing some dreams off the list. I was in that mode and I was like, I'm gonna make a rap album. I knew some producers who were who were free at the time, and
Right.
not free like they didn't charge me, free like they
Right.
were
They're available.
their schedule was
Right.
available.
Right.
And I did like a hybrid, like some ways I got pegged as a nerdcore rapper, but I think that was only because I'm white and talking about like weird stuff. But in some ways it was a comedy rapper because my
Yeah.
stuff was weird. But I actually thought that I was somewhere between them, like on some separate island almost. That was like, I mean, because my songs weren't like, I wasn't like, what's the funniest lyric here? I was always like, what would sound the best? What would sound the weirdest slash best? And I made 3 albums. I went on a couple of small tours. I played South by Southwest. I did a bunch of, not a bunch, I did a couple of outdoor festivals. I did, I did pretty well for a side project a long time ago, and
Yeah.
I look back on it fondly. And yeah, chirp to it, man.
It was very entertaining, and it wasn't bad. Like, I get where people say nerdcore, because if you're a white guy, it's kind of has that alternative style. Then it's like you're sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon, and you're the hipster rapper, whatever, So that part, I mean, I get it, but it's obviously people who say that they're not listening to what you're actually saying. So it's funny, but you could tell that there's actually you put work into the shit. Like the beats were good, and
For
you
sure,
know,
man. The beats were really good. I work with some really talented people, and I wrote my ass off, man. I was not just like farting out songs just for the hell of it. I worked my ass off. My favorite rappers are the ones who are the best writers. Like,
yeah.
Eminem to me is just the greatest of all time. With his lyrics are just. I could talk all day about it. It just blows my mind. Um, but yeah, I would do shows with those nerdcore guys. Like I did shows with MC Frontalot and MC Lars and MC Chris, and I was always grateful to open for them because those were monster artists who were very successful in what they were doing, and I was just getting started. So I was really grateful for the stage time and the opportunity. But they were rapping about like Pac-Man, like they would have like an entire song about Pac-Man, and I would have like one line about like Pac-Man eating my ass or something. It's like
Right.
um and so it's like it didn't fit exactly. I wasn't doing what they were doing, but I kind of looked like them, and
Right.
I wasn't hard. Like I definitely wasn't opening for legitimate rappers
Right.
because which I completely understood, by the way. Like I was not going to open for Bun B at this festival,
Right.
but at the same time, I think that if Bun B, I never said this before, by the way, but I think that if like Bun B were looking at my lyrics or like MC Frontalot's lyrics,
Mm.
I think that he would be, it would, if it was like, which one is the nerdcore, it'd be very obvious that Frontalot is nerdcore. I don't know what he would say about me, but I don't think that he would be like, oh, he's a funny guy. I think he would be like, that's some weird like performance art shit.
Yeah.
Um, and and I tried to like own that world and be really playful in it without taking myself too seriously. And it was fun, man. I did it for like 5 years. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah. You were just popping them out, and then you had the festivals where when you're doing the half man, half beard, you shaved
I
it.
shaved my beard on stage.
Yeah.
Half
And
of it. Half of it.
that was awesome. You know what I mean? And that's still on YouTube, I believe,
Yeah.
somewhere. You look that up. But yeah, the one thing I do miss is, festivals. And you did a lot of those. So with everything going on with COVID, they're making it seem like this year, because I've seen some festivals. I can't tell you where they were at, but they kind of had everybody squared off in little areas. So they would have the concert, and then people had their own little area, which I actually thought was a good idea anyways. Like they should keep that shit, because now you actually can charge a little more and give them kind of like MVP, type of service. And you did Hell Yes Fest for so many years. What's the status of that? And just you. I know you're always touring constantly. That's kind of like your gimmick, I guess you could say. But what's the status of you going on tour, maybe doing like a Sturgis type of deal? What's going on with that part of it, of your career?
So it's still on and popping as much as it possibly can be. Every major festival I had on my schedule last year was canceled with the exception of Sturgis. I still did the Buffalo Chip Sturgis. I'm the MC for a side stage at this giant music festival within the biker rally up in South Dakota. That still happened because well, one, they don't give a shit, but two, they also took care of the performers in a really big way with social distancing, and it was very thoughtful. I will say that, and the whole thing was outside, so I felt safe, and I'm doing that again this year. Hell Yes Fest is like you're right. Like I'm a festival dude. I just love festival culture. I want to be on every festival. I want to help every festival in whatever way I can. And so Hell Yes Fest is it's my festival fantasy. And it's taken on a bunch of different forms because one of the things that I wanted to do with my festival is I never wanted it to be the same festival twice until I figured out the format that I loved. So like one year it was a ton of headliners all from, and the venues were all over New Orleans. Another year it was almost entirely locals because we want the locals to be treated like celebrities. Another year it was all at one venue. Another year it was at 12 venues. So I keep mixing it up. I still want to add a pro wrestling show to Hell Yes Fest. I still want to add like a freestyle battle. I want to do more music at Hell Yes Fest. I just want it to be like a fucking fun festival that people like me or you look at the lineup and is like, what in the hell is this? Like, why does this festival have this I'll tell you, it's coming up the top of my head right now, but like my dream festival, I would love to like have Lil Dicky doing like an after party. I would love to have like a Hannibal Buress, Neil Brennan type of doubleheader monster stand-up comedy show. And then I want to have like an indie wrestling one night tournament. It's almost like an indie WrestleMania one night only. I want that as a festival.
Yeah.
And then I want like a hot dog eating contest somewhere in the middle. Like that's my dream festival is something like that. And
I like that. That's
and I'm
actually
excited to bring it back.
that's an award-winning combination right there. I mean, it's something for everyone, and pretty much essentially that's what I want this podcast to be. I'm not just gonna, getting comedians to come on the show is not going to be the hardest thing I ever do here. I mean, booking people isn't really too hard because pretty much like everyone knows someone in that you're trying to get. Everyone is connected in some way. But the one thing that you did say, and you brought up wrestling, which is actually a great segue to what I was going to go into next, was one of the many things that you've done was Chris TREW as a manager. And you've actually had some matches in the ring. And back in the day, I used to do a little something at the School of Hard Knocks. Way back when I could lift my leg up to super kick someone. Now I can barely get out of bed. But now I'm a professional TikTok wrestler. What about one last ride for Chris TREW, either as a manager, and you've worked with some great people too, Keith Lee and MJF and a lot of other people, but one last ride as either a manager or a wrestler, what's the chances of that happening at all? I'm not going to narrow it down to this year because of everything going on and what you said earlier. You're trying to, keep your, what do they call it? Keep everything in one box, keep your P's and Q's, whatever some 85-year-old grandma is going to say. What's the chances of you doing that at any point at all?
Well, 405, what I said was I'm narrowing my focus for this year. But as you know, ChrisTrew.biz, Professional Wrestling's Manager of the Decade, 2010 to 2019, he's all about focusing up.
Absolutely.
So I'm taking a page from his book this year and focusing up on one thing. But I can't speak for the future, my dude. I'll never say never when it comes to any of these things. I'll never say never to Terp 2 it dropping a surprise album at some point. I will never say never to Uncle Terry rising from the dead and wondering, if they do it like this, as a ghost. I will absolutely never say that TREW.biz, professional wrestling's manager of the decade, 2010, 2019, will never come back, whether it be representing a client in need of my services or if it's taking care of business myself in the ring. Never say never. I always have my eye on that. That is, I have long said, and I still mean this. This is breaking news. I still mean this, even though I haven't said this out loud in a long time. But that is the thing that I would throw it all away for in a heartbeat. If I had an opportunity to go really big with TREW.biz, like if AEW or WWE called me tomorrow and said, "Stop what you're doing, come here right now and come do your thing on TV with us," I would do it. I would pack everything I have into one bag, which that's all my stuff anyway. Minimalist as fuck. And I would start walking to Florida. And somewhere around Pensacola, I would be like, "Oh wait, am I going to Jacksonville or am I going down to Orlando? Which one called me again?" But I'm going to Florida.
Who would be let's just keep it to AEW and WWE. If you were to bring back and you had the choice, and either Vince or Tony Khan, they say to you, "All right, Chris, I want you to take one wrestler to the next level. Not someone who's already big, but maybe mid-card. Who's the one guy in either company, or if you want both, one of each, who's the one guy you feel that you could be the mouthpiece for and you could elevate their career to not just superstardom, even though when I know that's TREW.biz, I know that's the goal, and anyone who's associated with that man is that person, number one. But who could benefit from your services?"
Look, one of my specialties, 405, is I take people who are good and I make them great. I take people who know what they're doing and I help them fine tune and perfect it. But my ultimate specialty is I take greatness and I turn them in, I make them immortal. Okay. So my answer might surprise you. I'm not looking at the bottom of that roster and thinking, who can I drag up to the top? They're not ready for me. They need someone who hasn't been around as much as I have been. They need someone to hold their hand. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm here to elevate the brand, to really take you to newer heights. And I'm a sucker for rhythm and pattern and loyalty. So I'm calling my man Keith Lee back up and I'm saying, "Look, you've done very well for yourself in a very short amount of time. Could you imagine what would have happened if I had been with you throughout this entire process? Your stint in NXT, while it was remarkable and historic in a lot of ways, I imagine if you would have had me by your side. Imagine how much quicker history would have been made, and how much more money you would have made, and how much further in your career you would be right now. There's rumors about them pushing back WrestleMania. If I were Keith Lee's manager right now, we would be so hot that they would be trying to move it forward to hurry up and get Keith Lee on that WrestleMania main event. They would be moving it forward, not backwards. COVID might not even exist if I was Keith Lee's manager.
I think if you were Keith Lee's manager, COVID would leave the country. It would be gone. That's the cure for COVID right there. I think you just tapped into it.
Not only that, but I am the cure for boring wrestling managers everywhere.
That's true. You were a great manager, and I think that, if you become that person again, I think that would be a phenomenal thing, a phenomenal get for any professional wrestling company. Now, I want to end this with one final question, which I think is important for a lot of people, because the one goal that I have doing this show is not just to help people and hear interesting stories and everything else, but it's entrepreneurship and seeing people start something and just build and grow. You've been in the game for quite some time. Obviously, you know the ups and downs of just being an entrepreneur and working for yourself. Because as far as I know, I don't think Chris True is clocking in on the regular 9 to 5 type deal, and probably hasn't done that in quite some time. I don't ever remember you telling me that, hey man, I can't be on your podcast today. I got to work. But I've actually had to do a podcast, a couple pros of everything podcast on my lunch break at Verizon in the back office. So a little fun fact behind the scenes, a lot of people don't know. But you know, I basically what I would like for you to tell everyone is it briefly the start. What are the 5 things? Well, no, I'm not going to go that high. What are the 3 things that people should focus on? Because I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and I love how he approaches things in entrepreneurship. What are 3 things that people should do if they lost their job or they're quitting their job to go all in on what they love? What are 3 things that they should do to get them started on that right track?
Okay, so I can answer this question while also filtering it through. Like I get this question a lot with regards to comedy as well. I think I can answer both at the same time. So like my answers might be kind of comedy related, but I think that translates to even if you're a painter or a writer or whatever. I think the first thing is you have to figure out what your voice is. You have to figure out what your deal is. Like, and for some people, it takes a while. And so that's why you got to get started ASAP. Like start just making things. I think to take a Gary Vee thing, it's like document, don't create. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to start documenting things and just start going. I don't care that your Instagram lives might have 2 people in the room and they both jump out after 2 minutes because you're kind of stuttering a little bit. Fuck it, keep going. You
Right.
have to keep going because you got to figure out what your voice is. And so the second thing I would say is once you figure out what your voice is, like hold that shit tightly with an open fist. What I mean by that is like you can't like clutch on to what your thing is and then like not be flexible and just be bullheaded and like and just like no, this is it. Hold
Yeah.
it tightly, but with your hand open because it might change. You might evolve, not might, you will change. You will
Right.
evolve. And if you like once you stop learning and stop being playful, like you got a timer on your shit, dude. Like it's starting to
Mm-hmm.
like go downhill, maybe slowly, but it's starting to go downhill. So that
Yeah.
leads to the third thing, which again, this is for business or for comedy stuff, is you have to treat people the way you want to be treated, and you have to be like open-minded and playful, which is a reason why I think improv is a great tool for any purposes. But you have to keep, there's a study done with people who are monitoring bear activity in the fucking woods somewhere, and it was like
Right.
bears that are actively playing live longer and are like better hunters and are just overall live a better, happier life the longer they play.
Right.
So for for humans, we need to figure out what our play is. Like for some people, their play is, their book club, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool. For some people, the play is, like I'm in a running group or I take boxing classes, whatever. If you don't know what your play is, like figure it out and and start opening your mind to that and watch how it affects the rest of your mental health, your physical health. And to go back to what you're asking me, 405, it goes back to your like entrepreneurial spirit health. Like
Right.
stay playful, stay open-minded, and it's no coincidence that I'm able to bring this back to improv because improv is like the ultimate play thing for people. Even
Yeah.
if you are never even if you're never going to be on a comedy stage, even if you think you're not funny, even if you have stage fright, taking an improv class will just open those pathways in your brain that affect all the other things I was saying. So
Okay.
take a class, free improv February, or just find what your play thing is and throw yourself into it.
I love it. And you know what? Like I said earlier, I've known you for some time, and I'm super fucking proud of you, bro. Like, honestly, and I mean that. And I'll tell you this, whether our camera's on me or not, I'll text you saying the same shit. You're one of the people that I really have a lot of respect for because you keep hustling. Like, I can't imagine a day that you just have a day off. Like, you're just chilling at the house, just not really doing much. Like, hey, what's going on? Let's talk on the phone or some weird shit. Like, you always have something going on. Whether it's 1,000 Zoom meetings in a day that might go off in 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, there's always something happening with you. And I think that's commendable. And you're a funny dude. Like, you're talented in a lot of things that you're doing. And it's not just having you on because, we know each other, but, having you on, it's an honor for me because you've done so much and you're great at so many things. And I appreciate all the knowledge you've given me through the years and sometimes tough love, through some of the things too, which I also appreciate. But so with all that being said, I want to take the time to thank you for being on the show. I'm going to have all the socials and everything, all the links and everything outside of this, but go ahead and tell people, we already know about the 200 for February, all that good stuff going on. What else do you have going on besides that?
So, in lieu of like dumping a bunch of information on you right now at the very end, I just want to say, I ask you to do one thing, like go to my Instagram and follow me there and just send me a DM, say hi, say you heard this podcast and let me know how I can help you. If it's like you want more information on the improv classes or you just want to expand on something that we just talked about on the pod, I'm down to help and be a part of it. And I would just love the opportunity to be a part of your life in that way. And the last thing I'm going to say, I actually want to flip this back around on you, 405, because I know it's a new podcast. I would like for people to jump in and start giving you some reviews. Like, jump in there, give my dude, throw a 5-star at that ass, 5 stars frog splash this man's ass in the review section right now. It's a new podcast. These things take a while to build up audiences. So I know that you are, you've also impressed me over the years with like how willing you are to try new things. I know you didn't just like jump into this project willy nilly. You've been thinking about it for a while and putting things together. So I'm grateful to be your first guest. I hope I get to make another appearance before you hit 100 guests. Like maybe I can be your 100th and guest 101, whatever.
Right. Or guest 405.
That's going to be a big one, dude. That's right. The real anniversary. Guest 405. You should interview yourself. I'll interview you.
I like it. Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, most definitely have you on because I wanted to go into more wrestling talk, but that literally would take the whole podcast. That could be like a separate deal or something one time where we just talk wrestling. And I know I'm pretty sure you're not really caught up that much. I know you watched a little bit, but you're not really too into what's happening, And I know that mainly because when you said earlier about WrestleMania being talked about being pushed back, they already announced the dates for 3 WrestleManias. So what told me. Let's put the wrestling on the sidetrack. We'll save that for another.
I didn't know that. Wow.
To be fair, they did announce that a couple of days ago, or actually, what's it? They announced, a few days ago over the weekend. They did a little sketch with Triple H and Stephanie, where they're like news reporters, and Triple H had like a really weird wig. And they had Cena on there and Reigns and Sasha.
So they're doing 3 WrestleManias.
Yeah, so this year is going to be like April 3rd, like the first week of April, like they normally do. Next year is going to be in LA. And then, or no, I take that back. Next year is going to be in Texas. And then the year after that's going to be in LA. So they announced the dates.
Oh, they announced the dates. Okay. I thought you were saying they were doing 3 this year. I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
No, they're going to do the 2-night one again, I believe, for this WrestleMania. But yeah, so we'll save the wrestle talk for another day. But look, man, I appreciate you doing the show. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and try to get some rest a little bit. It's okay to sleep sometimes, right?
Oh, my dude, trust me, I have forced downtime. Like when I watch my Pelicans, my Golden Knights, I try to put the phone down and try to just focus on that, give my wrist a little break. So yeah, forced downtime is important. Do that too.
Cool, man. All right, man. I do appreciate you. Enjoy your day. And everybody, thanks for watching and also listening to Look, It's a Podcast. Follow us on social media at Look It's a Podcast. We're super simple to find online. It's Look It's a Podcast everywhere. You Google that, you're going to find us. Instagram, Twitter, we're everywhere. Also on Facebook. Give some love there. Thanks again, TREW, for being here. Have a good rest of your day, guys.